I love growing food in every season, but spring is really special. There's an explosion of new growth, and the weather's getting nice enough that it's more pleasant to be out working in the garden. Today I thought I'd share some of the changes that are taking place in our spring garden. One of the biggest changes in the garden is that we're now past our last average frost date of April 27th, which means our cool weather crops definitely don't need any cover. So I've removed the cover from the cold frames, the low tunnels, and the top of the hoop house. I keep the plastic on the end walls just because it's easier. And now that it's spring, the plants that have been here all winter are starting to bolt, flower, and go to seed. We'll let many of them drop their seeds in place, but we also need to get in here and do more harvesting. One of the great things about spring is that the garden expands beyond the hoop house and a couple low tunnels to include most of the yard. Here in the geo bin, our red Norland potatoes are doing very well. We can still get some nights below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, so I still have the plastic in place just in case I need to cover them to protect them from the cold. Next to the potatoes, our sunchokes are doing very well. And that brings us to the first of our two double-layered hinged low tunnels. 2 layers of plastic protected the cool weather crops inside all winter long, but now we're past our last frost date. That protection isn't needed anymore. A few weeks ago, I removed 1 layer, and then more recently, I removed the 2nd layer. And the crops inside are absolutely thriving. Right next door, our blueberry plants are coming along nicely. These plants are just a few years old, and it looks like we'll have our first good-sized harvest of blueberries this year. Like I said earlier, the nicer weather in spring makes it a lot easier to take on gardening projects. And today I have a project that I'm very excited about. Our sugar snap peas are now tall enough that they could benefit from a trellis. So I'm going to set up trellises along the north side of this bed and that bed where we're growing sugar snap peas. The first thing I do is take a trellis and mark in the soil exactly where the trellises will be located. Okay, now to mark the spot for the next trellis. If you'd like to learn how to make these, I'll put a link up on the screen you can check out. There we go. Okay, now that I've marked where the holes are, I'll drive a piece of rebar into each hole. Okay, now that I have the rebar in place, I should be able to slide these trellises right over top, though that's sometimes easier said than done. Oh, yeah. Oh, not too bad at all. Okay, let's see how the second one goes. Good, off to a good start, and like a glove. Like a glove, ladies and gentlemen. Excellent. Now these trellises are quite tall, but these sugar snap peas sometimes grow all the way to the top. Okay, now the trellises are installed, I'll gently encourage the sugar snap peas to start climbing the trellis. And it really doesn't take any time at all for the tendrils to start clinging to the trellis. I also have sugar snap peas on the north side of this bed, so let's remove this PVC and install the trellis here using the same procedure. Now that the peas are taken care of, I want to show you 2 more things before closing today. First, I want to give you an update on the status of our summer crops that I planted outside under cold frames a couple weeks before our last frost. And then I'll show you a project that I completed a couple weeks ago that I'm very excited about. Here in this cold frame, I have all blue potatoes up front and a cushaw squash in back. This plant will produce massive fruit that we'll harvest before the first frost in autumn. I'll keep the cold frame over the cushaw for at least another few weeks to give it a good jump on the growing season. I started acorn and butternut squash in this cold frame at the same time as the cushaw. The butternuts came up first, but the acorns should catch up soon. As with the cushaw, I'll keep the lid on at least another few weeks. The last summer crop that I started a couple weeks before the last frost that's actually up is patty pan squash, which I planted here in this cold frame. This little baby patty pan came up just a few days ago. I'll keep the cold frame on for at least another few weeks to get it off to a great start. And of course I'll vent to prevent overheating. The last change to my spring garden that I wanted to share with you today is a project I completed a couple weeks ago that I'm really excited about. You may have noticed when watching my videos that most of the shots of the whole garden are done in this direction, facing north. That's because I'm trying my best to respect my neighbor's privacy and not include shots of their yards in my videos. But a couple weeks ago I built a new cedar fence along the west side of our garden. The fence not only looks a lot better than the old one, it also allows me to take shots that face west while still respecting my neighbor's privacy. The fence will make it a whole lot easier for me to film videos, and it will give you a wider range of views of the garden. I'll also use the fence in the future for vertical crops. I hope you enjoyed this quick look at some of the changes in our spring garden. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe for more videos on how to grow a lot of food on a little land without spending much or working harder than you have to. Let's go inside, Oscar.